not a love thing, it's a real thing.
Welcome to State of the Art Southern Illinois, a podcast by the Marion Cultural and Civic Center. Our guest today is hip-hop artist Bilal Spiller, who records under the name Dub Z. Listen as we discuss his musical influences, the music in his life growing up, and how as an artist and a human, his outlook has continually changed.
Yeah, I love you. Say I love you. Yeah, I love you. Dub Z from a small town known as a Duke, screaming to the whole world. Yeah, I love you. Say
Bilal, thank you for joining us today.
No problem, Josh. No.
So, I'm really excited to talk to you as we get into it about something that I have absolutely no concept of the reality of in Southern Illinois, which is the overall hip-hop scene.
Right.
But let's start with, you are a rap and hip-hop artist yourself. You are
Yes.
Dub Z.
Yes.
And your music can be found, your Bandcamp site has all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got a ton of music on Spotify.
Yeah.
And all the other platforms that people can listen on.
Yes.
And they can find you on those as Dub Z.
Right.
But you grew up here in Southern Illinois. Let's talk about that to start with.
Yeah, I grew up in DuQuoin, Illinois. I was actually born in St. Louis. I came to DuQuoin, I think my mom told me, whenever I was like 2 months. And so, yeah, since I've been 2 months old, I've lived in DuQuoin, Illinois, went to kindergarten out there in Cesar Blacktop. Went to J.B. Ward middle school, DuQuoin High School. Basically, yeah, my whole life in Southern Illinois. Well, until I was 18, and then I started moving around. But yeah, I grew up here. True and tried Southern Illinois person, seen almost everything that you could see in Southern Illinois that was big. New Kids on the Block at the fair, like all that old stuff. Wrestling, bushwhackers, all that.
Yeah.
I've seen all the big, well, not the biggest moments, but the big things that happen in Southern Illinois in our age group. So yeah,
So you grew up in DuQuoin, and you mentioned your mom. What kind of music did your mom have in the household while you were growing up?
It's cliche, to say, but every black person that I know listened to Soul Train on Saturdays. My mom basically through the week, she was a secretary at her school, and so she would work her day job and then go to school at night. So I would be basically home alone from school, going to school in the morning till 9 p.m. at night. And the only time we ever got to spend together really was on Saturday and Sundays, the weekends. You know what I mean? And summertime, I was never home because I was riding my bike. So basically, if we were at home together, I was cleaning the house, helping her clean, and we'd listen to Soul Train. And our time, it was the mid 90s. So I would say around then, early 90s too. The guys, the R&B groups, Guy, Johnny Gill, it wasn't really old 80s, the 70s, 80s kind of funk era, but it wasn't Boys to Men and what we went into our teenage years going to. It's kind of like that. I don't know what to describe it as, but I just remember the group Guy was her favorite group.
And I don't even know who that is.
Yeah,
I know who Johnny Gill is, but
yeah, well, Johnny Gill, Aaron Hall was actually, I think, the lead singer for Guy, but I don't know. I couldn't even tell you their biggest song now, off the top of my head. But it was that mid 90s kind of dance, stretch suits, the men wearing the bikini underwear in Daytona Beach.
kind of the latter years of the soul movement.
Yeah. Basically going into the R&B mode that took us into our freshman high school years, basically. Yeah. So, yeah, that's basically what, if we listen to music. Like, my mom, we wasn't really big on it, but it was just when we cleaned. Like, when we cleaned the house, like, that's what we listened to, was Soul Train.
And that's a pretty special memory to have, is
Yeah.
the music you shared while you were growing up with your mom.
Yeah. Like I remember whenever we went to a family reunion in Indianapolis, and I want to say it was the 1990 or 91 family reunion. She had this blue Honda, and like again, like Guy was her favorite group, and that's what she listened to the whole way there. And I was just like, I liked it because I didn't know I don't think I knew anything else except for like Will Smith at that time. Maybe I don't even know if he's out yet, but I just remember listening to Guy, and she loved it. It was the whole trip, the whole way there, the whole way back. So that's kind of, what we listen to, but I listen to most of my music from just being out, with my friends. Like that's where I got most of my music.
Is there
from.
a point that you remember like discovering hip hop and rap music specifically?
Yes, I specifically remember. I want to say it was maybe 19. It was whenever I was 12, so it was 94, and my mom brought home Christian rap, like a book bag. Like I guess she went to a flea market. I'll never forget this in my life. Like she went to a flea market, I think in St. Louis or somewhere over there, and brought back like a book bag of Christian rap. Because I was getting to the age, like I said, I'm going riding bikes with my friends every day. She don't know what's influencing me yet, and so I guess she might have heard me listening to something, and next thing I know, I'm just hearing listening to Christian rap. She's like, "Here, take these." Boom. And I was just like, I don't think this is the music that I want. Like, this isn't the rap. I want to say what she heard me listening to was Uncle Luke, like, "Come on up and shake that," that. Yeah. And so she was like, "No, like, this isn't going to happen." So she brought me Christian rap. And
you were like, "No, this isn't going to happen."
I was like, "No, like, I mean, I know that there's a guy named Tupac. He's out there somewhere. I just haven't heard it. I've just heard it from my friends, but I haven't like keyed in on it yet." And so like I said, this is like 94. And like I remember those bags of tapes like being in the back of my closet until I actually moved out of my mom's house. Like like I never threw them away for some reason, but they were there. And I always looked at them and just think like, this is the first time like I ever got introduced to music. But the very first time that I got introduced to something that I loved was Tupac, "All Eyes on Me" in 96. Like that was whenever I was like, this is not exactly what I wanted to do, because I never thought that I would be a rapper, because I mean, me, like I'm a very shy, introverted person.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and the wild thing, just hearing this wild thing to me is that back in right around that same time, I had found NWA.
Right.
And I was, straight-laced white kid.
Right.
And in my headphones, it was either Eddie Murphy Raw, and this is like 95, 96, or NWA, or Warren G. Like, that was my go-to back then, man.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I was all about it. I loved that music.
See, like, and the thing about it is, like I said, I didn't hear any of that music inside my household. But when you go to your friend's house, Harvey and John Lanham, or I mean, not even John, but just being out and about in the neighborhood, riding your bikes, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you hear this music, but you don't have this music in your household. So it's like the very first thing I had in my household.
Don't get me wrong, I was not playing NWA inside of my house. That was not a reality.
I couldn't even imagine it. Like, I couldn't, because I've actually been to your house and like hung out with you. Like, when we were in like 4th grade.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because, I mean, you hear these things, and I have uncles. My uncles have friends, you know what I mean? But they're 80s, they were listening to, NWA and all that stuff. But I'm 8, 6, 7, 8, so I'm not even thinking about it like then. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going around the parties trying to drink empty beers. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even worried about the music going on. I'm trying to be that kid, But the first music that I actually had in the house was I mean, I remember my mom first got her job at the aid office in Murfreesboro, and remember calling her before she got off work and was like, "Mom, you have to go get this album because I can't go get it myself. Like, like I can't get it myself. It's called Tupac, All Eyes on Me. It's a double disc. Don't bring back the single disc. It's a double disc." Like I remember all of this, and she was just like, "Oh, giving me the huff and puff." And she actually went and got it, and that was the first CD that I was like, I mean, literally head by the speaker, listening to every word that he was saying because it was Tupac. I mean, like, kids nowadays just don't get it. Like, I don't know how they
see. The funny part is, like, all morning I've been in your music and listening to your music. And in your earlier stuff, I don't hear Tupac's influence.
Right.
But in the stuff from the last 5-6 years, I hear a lot of his influence.
Right.
Your lyrics and your writing strongly resemble the poetry that he had through his lyrics.
Right. Well, that's a thanks.
I mean, just in listening to the different albums,
Right.
you know, it's and why don't we just jump kind of in and talk about your music?
We can.
Like, so that's when you discovered
right.
Rap and hip hop was mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
At what point did you identify with it so strongly that you went, I have to do this?
You know, that's a funny question because, like I said, whenever I was listening to Tupac, like, I never thought that I would be a rapper. And I remember specifically being at Will Dalby's house. Like, I mean, people aren't going to know who we're talking about, but we know who we're talking about. And Leslie Paps was there, and it was me, her, Will, I want to say Dylan Shook. And I remember, like, I would rap along to every song. And Leslie one day, she just randomly said, she's like, "You should just be a rapper one day." And this was whenever we were like 14. I haven't even thought of it. Like, I still remember that statement to this day because at the time I was just like, it's easy to rap other people's songs. Like, I have no idea like how I would write my own songs. Like,
yeah.
And
but at the same time, you rapping other people's songs as you learning the flow and learning the rhythms and learning that how they flow through ideas and feel, and how that ties into the beat and to the track that they've created behind them and how it all works together by rapping, you know, all of your favorite people's music.
Right.
That's what you automatically start ingraining within yourself.
Right. And I never even thought of that. Like, maybe I was doing that subconsciously, you know what I mean? Like, because I've never like even thought once in my whole entire life that I would be a rapper ever. But then the moment that I actually did was whenever I, you know, you go to college and you experience everything, like your first experience of a lot of stuff. And so there's this guy that I think his name was Corey. He was practicing to, you know how you practice to be in fraternities, black fraternities at least, you carry a cane around, you have to do all the work.
I don't know any of that. No.
well, there's this guy, and he was always in our college apartment, and we play basketball or whatever, and so he's trying to be in a fraternity, and he's, you know, while he's twirling this cane, he's freestyling, he's rapping, he's battling, and he's, you know, poking fun at us. And so it got to a point to where, you know, we would start rapping back and we would start battling and freestyling, and it was just like, oh, like, like, I can't even freestyle now, but like back then, like, that's how I started, was just rapping with this guy, just making jokes, talking crap, you know what I mean? And so that's how it started. Like, I was just like, like, I'm kind of like, I can actually make words rhyme off the top of my head. Like, what would happen if I wrote them down and actually? So,
but I love that your first experience of your original rap was through a straight traditional rap battle.
Yeah, like that. I mean, that's
like right there in the apartment.
Yeah,
like a real slam battle where you're just
No, it was real.
clowning on each other and
Like it was real. Like it got serious. Like it got to a point to where, I mean, every weekend this would happen. You know what I mean? And I would look forward to it. Never wrote anything. We would just kind of, party. And this is what I look forward to, was going and just battling this guy and just cracking up laughing and having a good time. Like it was nothing, no malice with it or anything.
yeah.
It was totally just off the top, like unscripted, just talking about each other, just battle rap, like not, like where we're betting money on it. Like we weren't Eminem, you know what I mean? Like how he started, but it was just, that's how I started rapping, was freestyling and just talking about this guy. So it was probably the funnest and funniest experience that I had in college. And so basically I went from that to like that just taking over my mind, like that feeling you got from like battling and just coming to like the adrenaline of it, you know what I mean? Just like it's just coming straight from your brain, and it's just a feeling like, duh.
And at the same time, it's your first real venture into performing in front of people, even though it's just a few people in an apartment or at a party.
Yeah.
That's your first like public performance.
I mean, yes, very first one. And just the adrenaline from that and the high from that is like, I've never gotten that from anywhere else, from playing basketball, like from nothing. You know what I mean? Like that was something totally different. And that's whenever I knew like basketball, because I mean, obviously, you went to high school, like I went to Edwardsville to play basketball. That's whenever I noticed the difference between being good at something and being passionate about something. And I was passionate about music, about battle rapping at this point. I was good at basketball. I didn't like it. Like my high school experience made me not like basketball. There's a lot of reasons for that. But I was good at it. So it's something that, I might as well capitalize off of or whatever. But that was the first time I've actually experienced passion. Like, what is this? Like, this is new to me.
Something that really just lit you on fire from the inside.
Yeah, something that was new to me. So that was my first experience. And then I thought, what if I started writing? You know what I mean? Like, and this is like, no lie. Like, whenever I learned this whole new way of thinking and passion and like knowing that I could do this, it took me to a level of doing schoolwork that I didn't even know that I could do. Like whenever I started writing, like, and the stuff started pouring out of me, like writing English papers became 10 times easier, because it's just like, I can write a whole page of lyrics in like 30 minutes. Like, why can't I write an English paper? You know what I mean? Like, so.
And whenever you change it from that analytical process to a process of passion, which writing can be in any
form,
everything becomes easier.
Everything. And it's so crazy because like that, like at the time, like I didn't realize like I was an artist or a poet, or it was just something that was just coming out of me. And I was like, this is making school easier. Like this is making what's going on here?
That's another thing I didn't expect in this conversation is rap and hip hop, and my discovery of my passion for that made school easier.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. Like that's the first thing that I noticed, and it was like, wow, like I can do anything with this. Like it just gave me this superpower. It felt like, you know what I mean? To where it was just like, okay, like I can write school papers. Like I was like calculating math equations in my head. Like it's real though. It's so serious. But so yeah, so then that happened. Edwardsville happened, and then I came back home, and Chris Harris, the guy who I first started doing music originally with, he owns Route 51 Brewery. Shout out to Chris. He actually got an 8-track recorder because him and Anthony Franks were working on music. I had no idea, this is going on. And I come back on, I think it was Thanksgiving break from Edwardsville. And I'm like, hey man, like I just like started rapping. Like, you know anybody that's doing music around here? Like, I want to like try to do this. And he was like, you know what? Me and Anthony are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of how it happened. Like They were recording.
And they had just come back from Florida at that point, right?
No, this was before Florida. Because I went with
Okay.
them to Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, I went with them to Florida. So this was before that. And so us three basically kind of started doing this music thing together. And literally, since you brought that up, like, I think it was that summer after the year of Edwardsville, me, Chris, and Anthony were working on rebuilding houses for Chris's parents to sell or whatever. And we were just sitting there just like, ugh. We don't want to do this manual labor. We want to be in the studio. Like, we want to do music. And Chris is like, you know what? I'm thinking about going to Full Sail down to Florida. You guys should come with me. And then literally on a 2-week swim, we were just like, F it. Let's just go to Florida. And we moved when we were like, I think I was 20. And I quit going to school. Like, something, happened with, there's a lot of, you need a documentary.
Something happened, but.
Something happened. And so we ended up, me, Chris, and Anthony ended up moving to Florida and meeting a lot of people down there. And that's kind of how I started into music, like, basically. So, yeah.
So that's where you started actually recording and putting stuff down the first time?
Well, the first time I actually ever recorded anything was in Chris's basement. I want to say it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas break, because we had Thanksgiving break. We had to go back. Then I came back again. And then I think I had set up or wrote enough to where I did my first recording, and I'm trying to think of what beat it was. I want to say it was Tupac's either Pour Out a Little Liquor, or I don't know. It was a Tupac beat though, because obviously everything I love was Tupac. So at that specific point. So yeah, I think I made my first recording, which would have been probably in 2000 and going into 2001. So it has still been 2000, right? The year after the semester after we graduated. So yeah, like was I 19 yet? I might have been 19. I don't know, because I know I said that the first time I wrote a rap in one of my songs was 19 or recorded. I don't know, but that's basically, I came home from school and recorded at Chris's, and then that's when we started like our broship with music. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy because Anthony's always been singing. Like, I mean, Chris used to bring him, like, literally whenever we were 14, like, Chris would go be like, "Hey, my friend from Marion can sing," and he would bring him to the fair and like sing for girls so we could get on the girls. Like, ask Anthony. You can ask him this story next time you talk to him. Like, Chris would bring him every summer, like, at the fair, until from like the time we were 13 to like 16. And he would be like, "Hey man, I got this friend just talking to girls." And Anthony,
I'm sure I was around Anthony back then.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were all at the fair.
Yeah. So like, and I just remember Anthony just singing for girls. Like, it's the funniest thing to me now, because like I lived with this guy. Like, I know him now, you know what I mean? And it's just funny, like, thinking like, dude, like, Chris used to just use you to get girls. You know what I mean?
He can sing and the girls will come around and then we'll all reap the benefits.
But Anthony was always that kind of guy though. Like, he was so nice, you know what I mean? Like, one of the first girls I dated in Florida, like, Anthony like went up and got this girl a rose for me to give to her, and it's like, "Hey, my friend wants to talk to you." Like, he was just that type. He's that type of guy, man. Like, he's a good dude. So, but yeah, that's how we got on the music, and then from there, like, that's how we created all these albums.
We work with Chris here. All of our craft brew at the Marion Cultural and Civic Center, served at our bar here during shows, is all from Route 51.
Yeah, like, I mean, Chris, like, people don't know this, and I don't know if I can even say it, but like, Chris is like the MacGyver of making beer. Like, literally,
some of the stuff that he makes is amazing. We carried we started out carrying 3 beers. We carried the Manganero,
right? That's my favorite. By the way.
Fuzzkill, and the Strawberry Dream Saver.
Yeah,
and we stopped carrying the Manganero because the pepper in the beer makes it foam just a little bit much to fit in our cups the right way.
Really?
And so we shifted, and we've got the blueberry pancake brown ale now. And we've got those three, and Chris and I are working on some stuff for the future that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, like Chris, like whenever we had the studio, like this is what I said. I don't know if we could like say it, but like he literally had a kegerator like in our studio, and it was just like, dude, how did you like? Where did this
with
come
his
from?
own brews?
Yeah, well, not with his own brews yet. Like, but he would like literally get a keg, have it like MacGyvered into a refrigerator, and we would just have free beer just flowing like in the studio sessions. Like it was the dopest thing to me. Like. At that time, because people would come by and they would just be like, "What's this?" And we'd be like, "Oh, just
hey, you want a beer?"
Yeah, like just go pull the handle, like. It's but yeah, like he's the MacGyver of beer. Like he's always been good at it. You know what I mean? And that's all he said. Like if I ever get a chance to like just make my own beer, like I would be great. You know.
So obviously he's doing that now.
Yeah.
But he and Anthony together brought you into recording for your first time, and then you all went to Florida. When did you start working on your first actual full album?
It was down in Florida. It was called the self-titled LP. That was probably 2002, I think, when we moved down. Because I actually moved back on my 21st birthday, which is a whole nother story in itself. But yeah, I actually did 2 albums down there. One was called Catch a Contact, and the other one was called the self-titled LP, like Dub Zero self-titled LP. And they're not anywhere. Like if I could find those, like I would be surprised. I'm sure Chris still has copies of them.
Probably.
Chris has copies of everything. Like he has copies of like so many unreleased songs, like on the brewery stage. Like if you ever see his mixer up there, like that's where all my music is at. And well, not all of it, but what we recorded together. And we sat there one night, like after hours, after it closed, and he was just like, dude, there's like hundreds of songs that we never even released on here. And I was just like, what? So yeah, basically Chris and Anthony were like a team. We moved to Florida. First album I started working on was a self-titled LP, and then it might have been Catch a Contact first, and then self-titled LP, and then self-titled LP is the one that we more kind of like brought back to do coin, and was like we made our own like CDs and started pressing them up and giving them out to people. But that was kind of like a preview because we still lived in Florida. The first actual CD that we actually recorded together and put out was Straight from the Sticks, and that was in 2004, and that was whenever Chris moved back from Florida, because I moved back, I think like a few months, like 6 to 9 months before Chris moved back after he got done with school. So when he moved back from Florida, our first official recording was Straight from the Sticks, and that was in 2004. So yeah, and I was 22 then. Like we did the whole liner notes and everything, and thank yous and producers and all that.
The thing that barely exists these days.
Yeah, doesn't have. We were just talking about that. Me and TikTok, my friend and my group member with Prelude to a Million. He was just like, I'm one of those liner notes guys, and he's like, we don't have that anymore. But yeah, we were literally just talking about that. But that was Straight from the Sticks was our first album in 2004. Yeah.
Okay. And so how many albums have you put out since then?
I think it's 12 or 13. That's just my solo stuff. Prelude to a Million has put out 3 albums and 4 mixtapes. So Ill ENT, which is another group that I used to work with, I think we put out 2 mixtapes. Me, myself, personally, I think it's 12 or 13. I would have to look. I don't even keep count. I don't know. I forgot. Like, I stopped counting after Let Go. Because...
And we talked a little bit about your progression as an artist.
Yeah.
And how your rapping and your writing has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about it more just while we've been sitting here, and I think it's so interesting that that your first influence and possibly one of your strongest influences, being Tupac, didn't come through in your music as strongly until your later stuff. And my initial read on that is that until you know, as you grow older, you understand who you are better and kind of discover yourself.
Right.
And that your roots and what you were originally inspired by rap as a whole didn't show up in your music until you started to discover yourself.
Right. Well, I think what a lot of people don't realize, like when you record, like you said, discovering yourself, like the first thing you have to do is like your own voice when you hear it. You know what I mean? Like you're rapping and everybody hates their voice when they hear it back. So it's like,
because it doesn't sound like what's in your head.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And that's the key. Like I said, one of the first raps that I recorded was over a Tupac beat. So it was like, I wanted to sound exactly like Tupac, but nobody's ever heard that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like there somewhere. Like I said, Chris probably has all this stuff, but that's the first thing. You have to discover your own sound. So when you're rapping and you're doing music, like basically for the first 3 or 4 albums, I'm just adjusting to hearing my own voice and liking it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Once you get that in your head, like how you like it, and I can only speak for me, it might be different for other people, but this is my experience on it. Like I didn't get comfortable hearing my voice recorded until Let Go, which would have been my 4th studio album. So that's the album that I say that I actually like, everything kind of came together for me of having confidence in what I was writing, what I was rapping, and how I sounded. But another thing is like breath control too. Like you have to know all the technicalities of how to like you were saying before, like whenever I was learning this subconsciously, like learning rapping other people's songs, you can rap other people's songs, but actually writing your songs and getting the breath control down and getting into a cadence and doing that is harder than rapping other people's songs. You know what I mean? Because they're already doing it. Mm-hmm. You're not seasoned to do it on your own. So it's like you have to find your niche or whatever. You know what I mean? And once you find that, once I found how comfortable, or whenever I was comfortable with hearing my voice, then it was like I was confident enough to be like, okay, now I can talk about the things that I want to talk about. Like, because when you're experimenting, it's in every form. Like you're trying to sound like other people. You're trying to be the sound of the times. You know what I mean? Like it takes you a while to find what you actually, where you are and who you are. And once I found that, I was probably like 26 or 27. And so by that time, like my subject matter had changed drastically. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like from the time I'm 22 to the time I'm 26, 27, like it had changed. And it was all because of confidence. And like you said, like when we were talking earlier, like all younger kids, they want to sound like what they hear. They want to sound like what's popular, what's cool. And I was doing the same thing. You know, it just wasn't what music is today. Like it was, you know, back then it was, Eminem was a big guy, but Tupac, you know, like you go off of what you hear. And so like, yeah, I didn't.
I mean, back then, DMX and Busta, they were all really hot.
Yeah.
And that's completely different style.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And so, like, I didn't really know where I fit in until I was confident enough to until I was confident to hear my voice on.
And find your own voice within what you were saying.
Exactly. You know, because it all comes together. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, like, you're not just, like I said, I can't speak for everybody else, but me personally, I wasn't just good at one thing. Like, I had to work on everything. Like, I had to work on the lyrics. Like, I've always thought that my writing was good, but my delivery wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, So once that all came together, you get the confidence to be like, okay, now I can talk about, I don't have to sound like somebody else. I don't have to be another person. You know what I mean? I can be me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the most empowering thing, like, because you're already an artist, but once you find like your groove and you're confident in yourself, like that's whenever you can actually start talking about like what really matters. And like I said, I was older whenever I found that out. So it was like, you know, and I had been through a lot of stuff, like a lot of trouble, like not a lot of trouble, like I was never in prison or anything, but just like dumb little, you know, stupid stuff. It went from that to like realizing like, you know, what's important. Like I had kids through these times, you know what I mean? Like, so like.
And in your early music, there was a lot of bravado to it. There was a lot of, I'm big, I'm bad, I'm going to do this stuff because, and that's what you were mirroring.
Yeah.
The hip hop world of the time and what they were saying. And there's a lot more vulnerability within your more recent stuff.
Yeah.
Like the song Feels Like Big Fish.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some real vulnerable stuff in there. Despite the fact that some of the stuff in the chorus, you know, really hits on, you know, big fish in a small pond but in talking about getting to that point within that song, there's some real vulnerability within the lyrics.
Yeah.
And that there's a sample in that. Is that Nelson Mandela? That's a sample, or is that?
You know, I never knew what that sample was because those beats are from a guy called John Beats, and they're strictly from YouTube. And I reached out to him and told him, like, I sent him songs or whatever, but I don't think he ever got back to me about like anything. But I don't know what that exact sample is, but I just loved it because it was kind of like, again, it was Drake was doing that at the time, and so it was kind of like that. But we used it to where it was like we could make it our way. But like, yeah, that song, like that album particularly, Drunk Mind, Sober Thoughts, was probably the darkest time I've been through in my life. And I was 33. My dad had just passed randomly, and then my uncle passed 3 months later, like in the same summer. My dad passed like a week before my 33rd birthday, and my uncle passed later that summer, who was one of my best friends. So like that album means a lot to me because it was just like, that was when I was just like, yeah, like I don't care what anybody thinks about this music. Like this is going to be strictly me. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and like there's one thing that you say in there where you're like, I wasn't raised by the streets. I was raised by my mama.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
And that is so counterculture to, you know, the mainstream hip hop idea and culture. It's so kind of counterculture to that, to say, you know, these people really.
Yeah. Well, the thing leading up to that, we had signed a independent. I wouldn't even call it an independent record deal. Like I don't even know what it was. It was just like some kind of like janky promoters independent record deal, and so like that was, I think, 2013. So after all that fell through, that's whenever I got to the point of like, I will never try to conform to this industry ever again. And I'm just going to spit what is real to me. Like that was my whole goal. Like after that, because I was mad, like the group Soul Ill ENT had just broken up. Like I was mad about that. Like I moved to Chicago, like to get away from Southern Illinois for like a year. And I came back and was just like, you know what? I'm just going to say whatever's on my mind. And then the Summer's Minds came out. And then FTI came out, which is F the Industry. And I think after that, like I basically was just like, I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what's out there. Like, and it wasn't like I made it a point to be like, I'm going to do exactly what's out, do the exact opposite of what's out there. It was the point of like somebody needs to be themselves is what I thought. Like I never thought that I was the best rapper. Like I've never thought that. I've always said this. I never thought that I was the best rapper. I never thought that I was the best with wordplay, like, or with, but I'm the best at being who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like all these other rappers in Southern Illinois, like we can get to this later. I don't know how much time we got, but like if we're talking about Southern Illinois rap, like nobody is as real with themselves as I have been. And I've heard everybody's music. Like, so it's like, and I don't know everybody personally, you know what I mean? Like there is people that go through trauma, like in prison and, are in gangs and go through this life. I get it, but there's only so much that you can talk about that stuff without, it being repetitive. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't go through that stuff for the most part. Like, yeah, my dad was in prison the first 15 years of my life, but, that's something that I haven't even opened up yet in my music at all. You know what I mean? Like, so that's just something that I'm waiting to crack open. But like, yeah, I went through the same struggles that you did. Like, I'm a one-parent kid who grew up on the black side of town. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, I get it, but at the same time, like, that's not 90% of our reality in Southern Illinois. Like, it's not, it just isn't. You know what I mean? Like, there's not, especially whenever we were coming up, there wasn't shootings in Carbondale every weekend. There wasn't, stuff going on in Marion. Like, it just wasn't like that. But me personally, my life wasn't like that. So I wasn't going to portray it that way.
Yeah.
So, like, that's as simple as it was for me. Like, it was never about anything else. Yes, whenever FTI came out, you know what I mean? Like, I was mad at the way the industry was, but it was never about like sticking it to anybody. It was just about being yourself, because I've seen so many people who weren't being themselves.
Yeah.
And it was like, like, and the popular people like around Southern Illinois, it's just like, dude, like,
well, it's hard to really connect to someone's music when they aren't being genuine.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, people can be good at it, and I don't want to name names, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to put anybody on the spot or think that I have any ill will, because I literally have collaborated with almost everybody around here. But there's just people that glamorize a lifestyle, and
it's not real.
It's not real. And you have to understand, like, I mean, we all have kids now, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that those people at the time, like, had kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, the people, you have kids, like, your kids are going to see this. Like, I have a whole story about my kid, about Channing going to kindergarten, flipping the teacher off and said he's seen it from my videos. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, seriously. And like
and that's a learning point right there. Not for him, but for you.
For me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, like, the kids are watching. Like, seriously, like, that's a real story. His mom was so mad at me, and like, and the teachers, who all know me, my mom, they're just like, huh? Like, your dad raps. Like, what is it? And I'm just like, yeah, well, Miss Purcell, like,
yeah.
It's like the craziest thing. So that's a real thing. Like, your kids are watching this stuff. Like, what do you want them to learn from you? They're going to get this from everybody else, but from you. You know what I'm saying?
Let's bring that to, you've released like 3 singles in the past couple of years. And those aren't on an album yet.
Right.
Are those going to land on an album, or are those going to stay singles to themselves?
Yeah, they're all going to be on an album. Dub Z is B-Spill, and that basically, the title is basically me changing from this rapper guy who wants to be this party animal and this alter ego to B-Spill, the person, the human. I've been slowly making that transition, like you've been saying, the growth in my music, and now it's just finally time for me to be like, hey.
And so the growth in the music mirrors the growth within yourself.
Yes, you know what I mean. So
and so the most recent release of that is 831.
Yeah.
And I told you this earlier, but I associated so strongly with that because I had 831 it's from my perspective is all about loving the people around you,
Right.
and letting them know that you love them,
Right.
and actually communicating that and putting that out there and putting that love out into the world.
Right.
And you did it in front of the backdrop of all of these murals within Marion.
Right.
There's a set of wings that your children are in front of in that
Right.
video, and that set of wings is in DuQuoin.
Right.
But all these murals that are in Marion, and I had a similar experience while painting the murals of a mental shift of positivity
Right.
and love and putting things positive into the world through that process. And so hearing those lyrics while I'm seeing my artwork that inspired
Right.
me to change it behind you
Right.
made this incredibly deep impact
Right.
with that music video. And that music video will play at the end of this episode.
Right. Okay.
And for those listening, the
Right.
song will play. But for those watching on YouTube or Facebook, the full music video will play.
Right.
And so that struck me so deeply
Yeah.
because you and I, we graduated high school together.
Right.
We're the same age, and you and I are going through this transition point kind of at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
And the imagery that is my transition point and the lyrics that are your transition point are all coming together in this one video. And it felt like this unintentional artistic collaboration between the two of us, which is so cool.
It's
man.
giving me goosebumps. Like,
Yeah.
literally, I mean, that's how art works, though.
It is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly how art works, because whenever I seen it, this song was not in my head. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't anything that I had even thought of, like the song. But whenever I seen it, I was like, I am going to use this in a video. I just don't know what it is yet. And so whenever I wrote this song, like, me and Sam were talking about it, my videographer, and I was just like, oh, this is where we're going to shoot it at. Like, I already know. We don't have to go anywhere else, Sam, because Sam's all about location and going to 8 scenes and doing, 8 days of shooting. And I'm like, no. Like, it'll literally take us like one day, which actually it did end up taking us like a year to make this whole video.
Well, that gave us time to put more murals up downtown.
Right, exactly. But no, like, that's exactly how art works, man. And like, I can't even like say like how much it inspired me. But what inspired me the most about it is what you said. Like, you know what I mean? And I didn't know at the time that you were going through this transition of like, why wouldn't I put anything but positivity out there?
Yeah.
Didn't even know that. But it's like, I looked at these murals and it's just like, this is so dope. Like, where did he even get this idea to do this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what sparked me to be like, I'm going to use it, because this has to be put out somewhere where people can see it. Like, not just driving through Marion. Like, this has to be put out in the world.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
And artistically, from my end, there are certain murals that blatantly say,
right.
that blatantly talk about the love
Right.
and but the murals as a whole the entire project was about positivity.
Exactly.
From the city of Marion and for myself, it's all about putting positive things and positive life and energy into the community.
Right.
And that you felt that and felt this song with that talks to the communication through the artwork landing there.
Exactly. Like, it's undescribable to me, like, seriously, because like you said, like, I didn't even see most of it, whenever I messaged you and was like, I'm going to use this for a video, and then I seen the rest of it and I'm just like, man, like, this is perfect for this song. Like, I mean, how could this not go any better with it? You know what I mean? Like,
and even like whenever you sent me that message, we hadn't painted the Water is Life mural, which is on the side of Doug's Lock and Key here in Marion, that has the black and white handshake there.
Right.
And the message about loving your neighbor.
Right.
And whenever I saw that in the background of your video, I was like, that's so perfect. And that one was my friend Sean Vincelet's design, and then he and I painted it together there on that wall. But
yeah, like, I'll just never forget, like, telling Sam, like we're going to get everyone, and we're going to walk around these blocks until I see the one that I seen first and get that. And I think I don't know, I forgot which one you said it was, but like we literally walked like all around this area, and I was just like, get that, get that, get that, get that. And we basically got everything in it. But like literally, like that's how art works. Like the way you broke it down, like was perfect. And the message is exactly like what I am trying to do with my music. Like your message, nothing but positivity. My message on this album, and you'll see like 831 is just a beginning. Like the whole album is just talking about like, it makes me excited because I know people aren't going to like take it receptively. You know what I mean? Like
You might be surprised.
but you know what I mean? You never know. Like I just hope people like get the message that's in it, because there's just so much stuff.
I mean,
like
Pharrell is incredibly famous for a reason.
Yeah.
And he's all about the positivity.
exactly.
And so
You know what I mean?
I think there's room for it in the industry.
There is, and like that's all I want. Like I don't even care about, like I said, about the music industry. Like I just want the people. Like my whole thing is like, and this has taken me a long time to figure out too. Like if you can't take over your community, you can't take over your world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it starts with your community. So it's just like I just want people in DuQuoin, in Southern Illinois, in Marion to just hear this. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's nothing like you're going to hear on radio nowadays. It's nothing that you're going to hear on BT, or I don't even know if they, wherever you listen to music at nowadays. Like that's made me sound old, but
Music isn't on TV anymore.
right, yeah, exactly. So whatever you listen to, you're not going to hear nothing like it. And I pride myself on that. Like with the new album that Prelude just dropped, you know, the Book of Prelude, like we literally worked on this album for 4 years, since 2018. And the bulk of it, there's 11 songs. 7 of those songs got done in 5 days when we were out in LA, just purely off the vibe of where we were at. You know what I mean? And if you listen to it, like it's just so powerful to me. And anybody that knows me knows that I don't listen to my own music once I put it out. You know what I mean? Like at all. Like I don't like it because I think of everything that's wrong with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with this Prelude album, it's all that I've been listening to, and only strictly because it's just about positivity. Like there's no negativity in it, like at all. And like we get to this age to where it's just like, man, like I said, we're older now, so it's easy for us to be like, we don't want that stress or drama in our life. You know what I'm saying? But kids, they want chaos. They want, you know, all the whatever, you know what I mean? Which is cool. I wanted that at one time too. But I really want people to just understand, like, the world, there is positive stuff in the world. You know what I mean? Like I was so mad whenever Trump got elected. You know what I mean? Like, and I would argue with everybody on Facebook, and it was just like, you know, it got to a point to where it was just like, really, what am I arguing about? Because 99% of the time, you're not going to change a person's mind. Like, not anybody that supports Trump, like, which I don't care if you do or not. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that people should get along. You know what I'm saying? And it took me a minute to realize, like, I was attributing to the problem. You know what I mean? Like, I was arguing with people, but in my mind, I just wanted people to get along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even get it.
But you're doing the opposite of it.
You're part of the problem. Like, and that took me a lot to realize, and that's a lot why my message changed, because like I said, like in 2016, like I don't even think I said anything about politics in Drunk Mind Sober Thoughts. But like now it's like you would just have to hear like the songs, you know what I mean, once the album is out. But like I talk about having white friends that are, you know, that you see the subtle racism, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, they don't.
And they don't,
you know what I mean? Like, and they're still my friends, you know what I mean? Like, And so it's like, I want like black people to know, like, you know, like it doesn't have to be black versus white. You know what I mean? Like, I understand that there's a major shift going on in this country to where, you know, white people are figuring out that in 100 years they're going to be the minority. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, oh, like this isn't good. Like, you know, and fear is coming from that. And I just want people to realize that it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
We're in the end, we're all one people.
we're all people.
Yeah.
Like there isn't a such thing as black and white. You know what I mean? Like, that's a social construct. You know what I'm saying? So like, we're all people. And if people could just realize that, like, that's the message that we're trying to put out in our music, like, specifically. And so, like, back to, you know, people doing the opposite, like, I just want that message to get across and I want more people to understand that and realize what you're putting out there is literally like killing people.
Yeah.
Literally killing people. So that's my whole idea of, you know, the vulnerability. I won't be able to pronounce that word. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Just the looking deep inside of yourself and like realizing, like, you know, you can make a difference. Like, saying positive, like, your words have power. You know what I'm saying?
They do. Even
like,
if it just affects one person.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to put music out there with that message that people can connect to and connect to more than one person.
Yeah.
That's a golden opportunity.
Yeah. Like, that's what I want. Like, Jay-Z, he's now is my favorite rapper or favorite artist, favorite. That's, if I want to be like anybody, it's him. I'll never forget in an interview, he said, like, somebody asked him, like, what do you think will make hip hop change? Like, what do you think? Because hip hop is the biggest seller of music in any industry, like, by far. Like, it's $1 billion business. Like, by far is, you know, the most bought or consumed music. And, you know, the hip hop that's getting made is basically killing our community. You know what I mean? And he got asked, like, what do you think will make that change? Like, you know, what will make the curse from being from the hood, you know, like, and people talking about their experiences and going to prison and, you know, being in shootouts and all that stuff. What do you think will make it change? And I'll never forget this. He said, somebody that didn't come from the hood has to talk about love. And I was just like, oh, like, and that always stuck with me. And that's like one of the most reasons.
So it's time to do that, right?
Yeah. That's always stuck with me when he said that. Like, talking about all this negative stuff is not going to get us anywhere. Like, yeah, like,
it's perpetuating the problem. It's perpetuating a lifestyle. It's perpetuating, it's celebrating that cycle of poverty.
Yeah.
Within the hood.
You know what I mean?
And as opposed to moving towards prosperity and moving towards positivity,
right,
that can bring the community out of it.
Exactly. And like, Jay-Z said this like 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, and it's still just like, and you know, Southern Illinois is 5 years behind everything.
Yeah.
Like, behind New York and LA. And, you know, so it's like, we're still focused on trying to be cool and drill music and all that stuff. And it's just like, dude, like, it's not like that. Like,
and there's so much more that can be in the message.
Yeah. Like, and like, Jay's, like, obviously he's a brilliant guy, you know what I mean? Like, but, you know, if you listen to his music, like, he's told you, like, I'm not glorifying this. You know what I'm saying? This is what I went through. This is what I don't want you to go through. Like, and this is how to navigate through it. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Well, and something as simple as him, like, going back to his song that was immensely popular, that, you know, with this podcast, it's important because it came off of a song from Annie the musical, and Hard Knock Life, and
Right.
the spin that he put onto Hard Knock Life and bringing it out of that Hard Knock Life into a positive thing.
Right.
Back then, I mean, that was 12, 15 years ago.
That was in 98.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's 24 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was already doing it then.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Before we heard him publicly speaking about it.
Yeah.
He was doing it then. Because that song perpetuates in my mind of that positivity.
The genius of that, like, and people don't even realize, like, because he was just like, it was so simple. He's like, as soon as I heard it, like, he's like, everybody's going to relate to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I spit the right message, like, and he did, and he knocked it out the park. And it's just like, you know, from standing on the corners, you know, to driving some of the hottest cars New York has ever seen. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's telling you from standing on the corners, hustling, to driving some of the hottest cars New York has ever seen. Like, that is
He's
a
talking
message.
about coming up out of it right there.
You know what I mean? Just in that one bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, you know, and I mean, that is my favorite hip hop song of all time. Like, 100% easily. But like, you know, he can't, and the message that he was saying, like, you know, for the way for it to change, not necessarily cross over, is, you know, somebody not from the hood speaking on love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I can't do it. That wasn't my experience. You know what I mean? But somebody like me can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 'cause you were raised in that love. You were raised with the love of your mother and with that household and with the family, your uncle.
And that goes back to that lyric of you saying, like, you know, I wasn't raised by, you know, I was raised for my mom. And for, you know, that's why I can't think of it, because I can never think of songs whenever they're not playing. But like, Streets Ain't Make Me, that's thank God my mama did. Now you know why I got love in my heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally his quote on that has made me think about making that type of music, and that's why I make that type of music. Because
and that speaks exactly to what you're saying as well, because we're talking about how you can put out positivity and how it can affect people.
Right.
That one little phrase from him in an interview eventually changed your entire outlook and approach to music.
Exactly. And Tupac, one of my favorite quotes, he's like, I might not change the world, but I will spark the mind. I guarantee you I'll spark the mind that does.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, they're dropping jewels down to us. You know what I mean? And it's like,
and it's whether you take that and run with it or not.
Exactly. And it just kills me that that hip hop artists nowadays don't understand that. Like, they're these genius of guys are literally telling us, like, you know, and Changes is one of the best hip hop songs ever by Tupac. You know what I mean? Like,
and that goes back to early 90s.
Yeah, 96. You know what I mean? Like, why do you not want to progress from that? Why do you want to regress?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I ask the community of all of hip hop community, all of Southern Illinois, all of the world. Like,
and not just the hip hop community, but the community as a whole, Southern Illinois as a whole.
Yeah.
To move forward.
Yeah.
In positivity, in love.
That's
in progression.
Like, that's it. Like, it's really simple.
There's space for all of us here together.
Yeah, there's a lot of space in Southern Illinois. I mean, there's cornfields everywhere. So, I mean, why can't we get along? Like, it's so annoying to me. Like, I don't know. But that's what I try to put across in my music. So, like, if anybody hears it or sees it. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm still going to have my braggadocious songs. Like, there's still a part of me that, you know, you want that rush. You know what I mean? You want that, like,
there's a history to the rap battle that calls for that too.
You have to be, your competitors have to be like, okay, like, he's serious. You know what I mean? Like,
but you can be serious without perpetuating the horrendous things about the music.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can talk the biggest crap to anybody without saying a cuss word. You know what I mean? Like, I could literally destroy you with words without even cussing at you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's when I've worked on that a lot too. But like, And this new album, I'm trying to get the parental advisory off of it. Sometimes it is almost nearly impossible to make a song without a cuss word in it.
Yeah.
But, you know, like that's something that I've been working on too. But like, if I can make a song without having cuss words in it, you can make a song about not shooting somebody.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely sure of it that they can. It's just either they don't understand it or they're just doing what they think is cool.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing that bothers me with music. With
Well, and you know, when you're younger, your concept of what is cool versus what the real world is
totally
worlds
different.
apart.
Yeah.
Worlds apart. But thank you for being here today, man.
Oh, no problem.
Thanks for hanging
man.
out and catching up.
Yeah.
And it's great to hang out and talk as adults now.
Right.
And I love going out with your message of love and spreading love within the hip hop community and with your music.
Right. And that's all it's about to me, man. Like, if anything, if you don't get anything else from this podcast, whoever's listening, just know that positivity is out there and that I'm trying to spread it.
Yeah.
Josh is also, and I think that you should try to spread it too. So
yeah,
that's what I get.
That's a great message to go out with. Thank you, Bilal. I appreciate your time today, brother.
No problem, Josh.
Thanks, sir.
It's always, well, I mean, this is the first time we've ever done this. But
Yeah.
every time seeing you has been a good time. I've seen
Yeah,
you at the
man.
pavilion, everything. So, yeah, man. This is a nice setup. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
If I ever said it to you, trust me that I mean it. It's evident that in today's world we all need it. Sing it with
Thank
me.
you for joining us for State of the Art Southern Illinois, a podcast by the Marion Cultural and Civic Center, featuring local artists, artisans, musicians, arts organizations, and arts events in Southern Illinois, as well as touring artists coming to Marion. Special thanks to Bilal for his time speaking with us today. Thanks to AJ Rice, our associate producer. And special thanks to Bilal, or Dub Z, for providing this episode's soundtrack. Join us every Thursday morning for a new episode on Facebook, YouTube, or whatever podcast service you prefer. And now for 831 by Dub Z in its entirety.
It's not a love thing, it's a real thing. Dub Z is B Spill. 8 letters, 3 words, 1 meaning. It's universal whether or not you want it or believe it. If I ever said it to you, trust me that I mean it. It's evident that in today's world we all need it. Sing it with me, I love you, yeah, I love you. Say, I love you, yeah, I love you. Dub Z from a small town known as a Duke. Screaming to the whole world, yeah, I love you. Say, I love you, yeah, I love you. Say, I love you, yeah, I love you. Dub Z from a small town known as a Duke. Screaming to the whole world, yeah, I love you. I hope you hear me, cause gossip got them thinking they should fear me. But in my hearts of hearts, my love's abundant, that's the real me. Love's a process, it's much more than a feeling. You can hurt me, I forgive you, I'm not petty, that's the real me. I let it go cause that sets you free. I won't fuck with you the same, but I'll just let it be. That's less on me, I could break it down in separate degrees. But in the end it's all love, love, it's all the same thing. Unconditional, I love everybody, don't hate anybody. We all a little different, that's what makes us somebody. We rather choose the harder way and hate our hearts away. Start with smaller change, be smarter than you are today. Tomorrow isn't promised, you will start a day. Believe in yourself, don't make it harder, you can find a way. But either way, one day we'll all be gone. So either love me or leave me alone. Now sing along, sing it. I love you, yeah, I love you. Say, I love you, yeah, I love you. Dub Z from a small town known as the Duke. Screaming to the whole world, yeah, I love you. Say, I love you, yeah, I love you. Sing it. I love you, yeah, I love you. Dub Z from a small town known as the Duke. Screaming to the whole world, yeah, I love you. Don't got time for the bullshit. I'll be a fool with it. Jealousy of me says more about you. Now are you cool with it? Let's stop the pulpitting. Only God can judge me. You ain't make the rules, dude. There's no rules to live in. Just make sure you live it. You dying or you living. You live your life but set examples for the smaller children. The cycle stops with us. We gotta leave our kids to millions. Money don't mean nothing, but we're more than just black civilians. King and queen teens, our predecessors fiends. If you were 80s baby, trust I know you seen some things. no apology, but my life is mine to live it. When you talk to me, you're talking to a higher spirit. Hate to wanna hear it. Player, tell me something good. That negativity gon' with your spirit. Let's clear the air. One day we'll all be gone. So either love me or leave me alone. Now sing the song. Yeah, I love you. Yeah, I love you. Say I love you. Yeah, I love you. Dub C from a small town known as the Duke, screaming to the whole world. Yeah, I love you. Say I love you. Yeah, I love you. Say I love you. Yeah, I love you. Dub Z from a small town known as the Duke, screaming to the whole world. Yeah, I love you. 8 letters, 3 words, 1 meaning. It's universal, whether or not you want it or believe it. If I ever said it to you, trust me that I mean it. It's evident that in today's world we all need it. Sing it with me. I love you, yeah, I love you. Deja, I love you, yeah, I love you. Kendall, I love you, yeah, I love you. Channing, I love you, yeah, I love you. Albie, I love you, yeah, I love you. Cash, I love you, yeah, I love you. Kaika, I love you, yeah, I love you. Don, I love you, yeah, I love you. King James, I love you, yeah, I love you. Mom, I love you, yeah, I love you. Leelers, I love you, yeah, I love you. Riri, I love you, yeah, I love you. My baby mama, I love you, yeah, I love you. All y'all, I love you, yeah, I love you. All my fam, I love you, yeah, I love you. Everybody, I love you, yeah, I love you. The whole world, yeah, I love you. Black and white, I love you, yeah, I love you. Asian and Mexican, yeah, I love you. For the people, I love you, yeah, I love you. 831.